So welcome to this video, the fourth nervous system response to stress, fawning. And this comes from a cute little doe, a little deer, a fawn, and it's a response to stress. Really what this is going to be about is how this can help you and hurt you as a healer. So before I get into all of that, maybe it would be helpful, I imagine so, if I define these nervous system responses, right? So when we think of stress, almost all of us have been trained to know about fight or flight. And I think that's amazing that we've been educated to that. Like almost everybody knows about fight or flight. So essentially your nervous system gets stressed for whatever reason, and our biology is created so that we can keep ourselves alive. So the blood rushes to our, it depends which one gets activated. And it has a few options. So in the case of a lion, fight or flight. Flight is maybe a good idea until you're in close corners. Then you need to fight. Fighting a lion, I don't want to be in your place. If that's you. And then let's say the lion gets you. Then the most adaptive reaction is to freeze. And lately we've been talking a lot more about the freeze response. Trauma gets captured in the body with this freeze. There's no letting out of the excess energy for most of us humans when this one gets activated. So running, fighting, freezing, so the lion's got you and you play dead. Hoping that the lion's gonna believe that you're dead, is gonna saunter off, go get its buddies so that they can have you as their meal. In the wild, this is fantastic because you're not dead, you're just injured, and you can get up and you can run away and you can leave. Now, in our human contexts, the nervous system does this also. It freezes. So I knew about these three for quite a while, and it's very helpful information, especially, of course, when we make the link of in our modern days, it's not so much lions. And to understand that our stress response isn't all that adaptive to the kind of modern day stressors we have. In this last year, I've understood that these three of fight, flight, and freeze also have built-in sort of offloading them, which is really, really beautiful. So I've started running this year, and I've noticed that after my workday, if I go for a run, there is a moment where the stress response just unclicks. And when I was in Thailand a couple of years ago, I got really into Muay Thai and fighting, and what I noticed is that it undid so much trauma in my body because I did the movements, I completed some stress cycles that were still in my body just by fighting it out. The freeze also just by shaking and by moving and all of that is really, really helpful. So the stress response is in the body, but the stress relieving can also be through the body. So if you don't have some kind of exercise practice, that's super fine. Not everybody needs to have one, but this sort of explains why so many people really swear by that. And I get that in lockdown, it's harder to get this kind of exercise, to get it moved through the body in these times of stress. So maybe just seeing it in this way, that doing your exercise isn't to stay fit, isn't to have a nice figure, but actually just teaching your brain that you're safe again. This can also be done through deep breathing, lots and lots of practices. But all of this is truly just a preamble to the fourth nervous system response. And I learned about this year, and it is, I was really uncomfortable when I learned about it because it hit a bit too close to home. The fourth response to stress is fawning. Now, fawning occurs not so much in the lion situation, although it could happen in that one. Let's use the lion example. Fawning is like moving in such a way that you soothe the lion, that you calm the lion, that you sort of make the lion understand that you're not a threat, you don't taste good, and the lion should stay really lazy and not wake up its hunting instincts with you. Super adaptive, right? Now, this really, really occurs for a lot of us in situations growing up where there's a volatile element. Somebody maybe who's unpredictable, somebody who can go into abusive patterns, behaviors. And so the nervous system kind of learns to pose no threat, to appease, to calm, to notice really, really quickly when there's a spike in nervous system activity with somebody they are with, so that they can make themselves scarce, so that they can appease and say the right thing, agree. And so like their inner truth doesn't, there's no room for it. It's not that it doesn't matter, it's just survival has taken over and it's appease this big creature or suffer the consequences. So for some people that might be growing up in a household with either abusive parents or parents who suffer from addiction. In my case, my parents were really pretty chill. I mean, they weren't perfect, but they were really, truly wonderful parents. But somehow in my childhood, I changed schools 4 years in a row, and I had to adapt every time. And I learned by the third, fourth school, really to find sort of the biggest, meanest one and appease them and make sure I was in their good graces so that I wouldn't fall prey to them. Now that strategy, I mean, it didn't really work. I think the fawning actually set up their like bullying brains to bully me. Such is life. But that was a strategy, and that was the beginning of really a pattern of codependency, a pattern of people pleasing, which are other ways of talking about this sort of nervous system strategy. So I'm going to pause, see if there's anybody live with me now. Let's see. Whoops, where'd it go? Almost. Oops, wrong one. Sorry for this. Yes, there's 2 people live with me. So does this make sense to you? Are you with me on that? Tell me in the comments if you can. If you're doing other things, that's okay too. And that is an example of fawning, okay? So some examples of fawning are like, it really comes with this idea of like, you're bigger and stronger than me, and so I better make sure you like me so I stay in your good graces and I stay safe. And so the smaller I feel on the inside, the more everybody else looks like they're big, right? And the more I'm going to say things like that completely negate my own boundaries, that negate things like, oh, don't worry about me. No, you go first. Or, yes, of course I'll help you do these things, even if it inconveniences me. Or, don't worry, you really don't have to do anything. You don't have to comment on this live. I fully respect and understand that you have your own things going on. It's like a very self-effacing energy. And I mean, that is true. But it's when it's said from that place in us, we feel shaky and a bit scared. And there's people in our lives that are going to intimidate us and wake us up a little bit and make us extra, extra nice. It can feel good, and it can be a little bit addictive, that feeling extra nice, because your voice gets like mellifluous, I think is the word. Your voice gets so kind and so calm and so soothing that you just sound like you're the nicest and kindest person around. And you don't ever need anything. And you're just like a total delight to be with. Eve says, yes. And Sophie says, I'm here listening and working. Yeah, great. So there's like an addictive ego quality to this, because it's like, oh, I'm like the nicest person. And if anybody's mad at me, like that can't, like that can't happen. I can't have anybody mad at me, because either I'll totally crumble on the inside, or that person is a total brute for being mad at me. Such a nice, kind, loving, wonderful person. And the ego gets to play this game. And once the ego has a story, so in the way I'm talking about the ego here is the one who holds the stories about ourselves. And whatever doesn't fit the story gets discarded, gets ignored, and becomes really uncomfortable for it. So there's this story when we do a lot of fawning of, I am so nice. Batting your eyelashes. And that has a lot of consequences. So let me kind of drill that down of how that showed up in my path as a healer. So when I started, I wasn't aware of fawning. I didn't know it was a thing. I knew about people pleasing, and I knew I was a people pleaser for sure. But I didn't quite make the link with my nervous system. So I just saw it as a flaw in myself, but also something I was super addicted to, because it's nice to be able to make everybody like you, quote unquote. Although there's the people who see right through it and are like rolling their eyes at you. Like don't want to really be around you because they can feel there's a lack of authenticity. And it's not because you're being fake. Often people who fawn aren't being fake at all. It's just that there's a whole other side of their personality behind it that never really gets to be shown or showcased. And that part of the personality can be your toughness, your badassiness, your capability to tell the truth, your capability to see things just as they are, your capability to set boundaries, your capability to lead. All of that gets sent in the shadows, because to do those things, you can't keep putting yourself below others and appease and calm and make sure they never say a bad word about you. So as a healer, in the beginning, I did not know this was a thing. I really didn't. And what that translated as is just like, hey, I can take really stressed out people into my office. And I'm able, because of what I learned from fawning, codependent behavior, and people pleasing, I can really create an environment so they really feel super safe and at ease, and I can make them feel good. Because I learned this through a lifetime of making sure bigger people didn't attack me. So in a way that really, really serves as a healer. What also serves in that is that you have become, by necessity, somebody who's really, really, really good at reading human behavior, human nervous system stuff, really attuned to fear and anger. And so you can spot those things and you can navigate them and you can make sure that in your presence, your client feels safe. In the old nervous system way, this is like just so that they don't attack you, but now it serves a new purpose. Now it serves a purpose of setting the groundwork for them to feel safe enough to do their healing work. Because healing work without safety is really difficult to do. Without the safety, our nervous system just kind of goes into it like whatever haywire thing it needs to do to get us back to a semblance of safety. So creating this baseline of safety, at least in your presence, people will tell you, wow, I really don't feel like you're judging me. I really feel safe in your presence. I really feel good. Especially people who are really anxious, you're able to guide like step by step by step, making it super like relaxing and super conducive to building a rapport of trust with you as well. Again, let me pause there, see if that makes sense. Cool. If you're catching this a bit later, I hope this is making sense. I'm sure it is, and you can always catch the beginning later. So that is how it can help you as a healer. Now, what I noticed, it did have major limitations. Because I was doing this semi-unconsciously, subconsciously, and semi-consciously, it was shifting with my years as working with people one-on-one, doing lots and lots and lots of healing sessions, Reiki sessions, and sort of guided meditation sessions as well. What ends up happening in some way is that there's going to be clients that scare you a bit more, and they really will kick in your nervous system. And you do lose some objectivity and some neutrality, which as a healer is very, very, very important. Keeping your neutrality, keeping your own thread. Very important. And so what I was noticing with the clients that would trigger this in me, I would be a little bit jumpier and I would be a little bit on my toes and I would be a little bit less grounded myself and way more catering to their unhealed stuff as a self-protection mechanism. And how that was a disservice to these clients, and this wouldn't show up with people who were very anxious, but it would show up with people who carried a lot of anger. When I was in that old paradigm, I would be of disservice with them and their anger because I would shy away from it. I would be afraid of it. I would maybe not mention it when I see it. I would lose my ground. It would trigger me. And I would get, again, overly nice. And what overly nice looks like is enabling sometimes. And over agreeing. When really your job as a healer is to stay in the neutral place. And I really do believe that my clients are super, super wise and they know themselves best. And so I do tend to agree with their own assessments of things a lot. And there are times where I see a slightly bigger picture. And that is what I'm hired for. And when I see the bigger picture and I'm afraid to name it, and I am afraid to go there because of my own stuff, because my history of fawning, I am doing my client a disservice. I am reinforcing the pattern that they have. And so there's a certain type of client where this really comes up more. And there was a time in the last 3 or 4 years that I started to really notice this in myself. And I started really getting a little bit irritated with myself in this. And I knew something needed to change. And healing the fawning was key to that. And healing the fawning is healing very much that ego thing that says, I'm less good than you, or I need to protect myself from you, and so I will place myself below you. Healing it says, I am here, I am fully who I am, completely and entirely in my integrity, and you are here, and you are in your integrity. And we can have a relationship from peer to peer. And if we're in a healing context where you have hired me to be an extra set of eyes with my intuition, then it is my job to name certain things that I am seeing when I am seeing them. It is my job to tell the truth. It is my job to go, I'm not entirely sure about your assessment there. To me, it looks like yada, yada, yada. Or have you considered this aspect? Yada, yada, yada. And so healing fawning has been really learning to ground myself in my perspective, in my truth, without needing it to be true. So this is very much to do with your intuition. Learning to voice your intuition without attaching to it. So it's like a gift you give. You place it on the table right here. And then this one gets to pick it up, look at it, maybe put it back, no thank you. Or maybe they get to take it, look at it around it, and say, wow, I hadn't seen it this way. Yes, that helps me integrate something, and woo, here I am. So healing fawning has been so much a journey of healing my own perspective, my own truth, and also respecting other people's perspectives and their truths, but not shrinking away from it, not being afraid of disagreements, not being afraid of people's anger, not being afraid of my own anger. And what I've actually noticed over the last 1.5 years is that one of the things I'm best at is helping people heal their anger. And all of that is packaged in my Soft and True program. And becoming soft and true is really what I'm describing here. So keeping your capacity from your years of fawning, if you share that too, of setting someone at ease, of making yourself unthreatening, of creating a safe, loving, kind, non-judgmental environment, because that is what you genuinely, truly value. Not because you're afraid and because you're doing it out of fear anymore, but because it's a beautiful freaking skill. How gorgeous is it that you've learned to read people and that you've learned to appease them and calm them and do this sort of surface healing magic that has kept you safe. Sure, it meant you compromised who you are. Maybe you got so lost in it you had no idea what your own opinions were. huge, big time. Maybe you got so lost in it that your own story didn't seem like it mattered whatsoever, that it didn't have value. But it's a gorgeous gift that you learn. And people feel usually quite good when you use these skills with them. And so that's the soft part, because you value kindness, you value that. And then there's the truth part, where you get to anchor in what your unique truth is, what your unique purpose is, what your unique things are that you've come to express in this world through words, but through your work and through your clothing and through your creations and through your relationships. You've come here to express something in particular, and it is beyond gorgeous. And we need to get you out of the fawning to really express that and to feel comfortable in it. And what that also means is that you eliminate any comparison with anybody else. It's just unnecessary. You are who you are, and the next person is who they are. And the more you are, the more permission you give to somebody else to be who they are. And we get to disengage from all of this messy ego entanglement, this hierarchical entanglement that we've found ourselves in for so long. And we get to create a new way where leaders empower other leaders, women empower women, men empower men, women empower men. Gender has nothing to do with this. What this has to do with is you being so fully yourself. You give permission to everybody around you to be themselves. You feeling safe enough, knowing that safety comes from you. Knowing that your love comes from you. Knowing that nobody can treat you in a way that you don't sanction. Knowing all of that so deep down in your bones that you don't need to fawn anymore. Maybe it'll get triggered every once in a while when you forget. That happens for me. And every time it does, I'm noticing, and I get to say, oh my God, I'm fawning. What triggered me? What got me back into feeling small and feeling worthless? And how is that an illusion? How is that not the truth? And that is the work we do in Soft and True. We take every little thing in your life, every little incident, and we diffuse it. We take all the illusions out of it. We take all the lies out of it. And lies like I'm unworthy. Lies like if I don't appease my boss, I'm not safe. If I don't calm my partner, they'll stop loving me. Those are lies. And they spin us into fawning. And let's thank the gifts that has given us, and then take it another step further and live the life we were really, really meant to be living. So that's what I had. That's what I had prepared today. Love to hear what your thoughts are. So I will hang around a little bit longer on the Facebook. And as for the recording, my name is Inga Brewer. This has been with the Healing Revolution. You can join us on Facebook, the Healing Revolution community. Enrollment is open for Soft and True. It's going to be a longer launch time. I'm going to still create the Healer's Truth, which is a small lead-in event, a few videos, a few exercises to help you integrate this kind of information and live it at a smaller investment point, both in time and money. And then I invite you into Soft and True. It's a 9-week epic freaking program. All right.